Hey YouTubers, so I'm in the garage, not the deck, not the dick, so deck, not dick. So anyway, being sarcastic, the big ass cigar. So guess what I'm doing? You can probably guess the shit I'm doing right now, I am smoking a hashtag big ass cigar. Anyway, big ass cigar, as in the big ass cigar for life. Excuse me, I'm a fucking hog. I burped. I just had dinner, so yeah, big ass fucking hog for life. Or burner. Anyway, so yeah, I just had dinner. I had pizza for dinner. Nice big ass pizza, like the big ass cigar. So I had pizza from a local place, and yeah, it was pretty damn good, pretty fucking good. So I had gluten-free pepperoni and sausage pizza. Yeah, sausage pizza. So yeah, pepperoni and sausage pizza from a local pizza joint. Obviously, not going to say the names. I don't want to dox myself. So it's not like a major pizza place like Papa Gino's or Little Caesars. So I don't want to dox myself. So basically, yeah, I had pizza. I also put some hot sauce on the pizza. Update on the ghost peppers, not peckers. Yeah, ghost peppers, not peckers. Not dicks, obviously not cocks. So I had a total of 3 ghost peppers today, not peckers, not dicks, obviously. And I got mild capsaicin cramps. So after eating 3 ghost peppers over the course of about an hour and a half, I was taking a walk with my mother, mama smoking SE, and I got mild capsaicin cramps. On a scale of 1 to 10, like 10, like, oh my fucking god, that hurts, and like 1, like, pussy cramps, I would say probably it was like a 2 or a 3, like a 2 or 2.5. Nothing overwhelming, like I was still able to have light conversation with my mother. But I definitely got my mild capsaicin cramps. So definitely no more peppers today. Not peckers, obviously. This hot sauce I had on my pizza was that Lola's hot sauce, which is really mild. I mean, only a little bit stronger than the Frank's. Like the Lola's Carolina Reaper hot sauce is only a little bit more spicier than Frank's. And people say Frank's is pussy hot sauce. Pussy hot sauce. Anyway, so yeah, mild capsaicin cramps after about a half hour after eating those 3 ghost peppers, not peckers, not dicks, obviously. So anyway, so today's going well. So I will be going back to my apartment tomorrow. Oh, something interesting. So today is actually graduation day for the people in my town. So I graduated back in 2009 from high school. Back in 2009, I graduated from high school, and in my town, not going to say where I live, I'm not going to dox myself, fucking dox myself, that kind of shit, it's bullshit, but basically, it's, it's graduation day for that high school, so essentially, in my town, they're having their commencement ceremony, and they're graduating from high school, so this year is 14 years, 14 years, yeah, 14 years ago today, or not today, but 14 years ago, this month, I graduated from high school. So, I mean, holy shit, it's like, now when I was a senior in high school, I had a YouTube channel. Everyone knows that I have another YouTube channel. I uploaded to daily on that channel also. It's called SE77, so basically the same name, same shit, except basically minus the smoking. So it's a video game content channel. So, and no, I'm not like somebody playing like Call of Duty or Minecraft. So basically, it's old retro video game channel, and yeah. So I still upload to that channel every single day. So that channel I made back in April of 2009, and then this channel, Smoking SE77. Yeah, Smoking SE77, this channel I made in January of 2010. For some weird reason, people think I started smoking the same time I started this channel. For some weird reason, people think I started smoking in January 2010 because that's when I started this channel, was in January 2010. So people think my original videos on this channel are my original videos of me smoking, actually trying smoking, and that's not the case. So I had been smoking. A little bit of a recap here. I have been smoking since April of 2009. So, when I started this channel, excuse me, back in January of 2010, I had been smoking already for almost a year. So, yeah, I've been smoking for about 9 months. So I didn't start smoking the same month of this channel. I started smoking in April of 2009. So I actually started smoking on my 18th birthday. So, because back then, the age was 18 years old, and now it's 21, which is complete fucking bullshit, That's total fucking bullshit. I think that's absolutely ridiculous. You can go to war and you can die for your country. You can go to the military and die for your country, yet you can't have a fucking cigar. That's fucking bullshit, So I'm sorry, excuse my French, but that's fucking bullshit. I mean, fuck that. It's like, So, I think it's fucking bullshit. I'm not encouraging anybody to smoke. I'm not, glorifying or encouraging or saying, oh, it's a great idea to smoke. But the idea that an 18-year-old who can go and fight and die for his country can't have a freaking cigar or a fucking cigarette, that's ridiculous. And there are so many things you can do when you're 18 years old. You can get married, you can get divorced, you can get sued, you can be tried as an adult in criminal court, and yet you can't have a fucking cigar. That's fucking ridiculous. You can vote, you can own a gun, and yet you can't have a fucking cigar. That's ridiculous. The same shit goes for alcohol. I guess alcohol is more of there's more of a argument behind it because of the whole drunk driving aspect. Because when they changed the age to 21 to buy alcohol back in the 1980s, was it 1980s or 1970s? Yeah, somewhere around there, like 1980s, there was a huge drop in drunk driving accidents. So, and currently I think the statistic is that keeping the drinking age at 21 years old is saving almost 1,000 lives each year. So if the age was 18 years old to drink, around 1,000 more people would die from alcohol use or, drunk driving in general. So drunk driving. So I think it's somewhere around like 950 people. So alcohol I can kind of see more because not only does it cause a lot of addiction and a lot of a lot of bad shit, bullshit is bullshit, as in bullshit is bullshit, not only does it cause a lot of bad shit, like a lot of alcoholism and liver disease and also, cirrhosis and also, unwanted, sexual contact, unwanted, suicide, homicide, etc., but also the whole drunk driving aspect. So I can kind of understand why, alcohol is 21, but tobacco, it's like, I don't get that shit. It's like, it's like, in my mind, it's like, and just to play devil's advocate to the drinking age in the United States, we're one of the very few countries with a 21 plus drinking age. Most of the world is either 18, 19, or 20. So, and some countries are even lower. So that's a little bit like, yeah. So, of course, you could play devil's advocate to that also and say, well, in Europe, the UK, for example, they have a lower drinking age, but most of those countries you have to be 18 to drive. So most of those countries, teenagers don't have cars because gas is so fucking goddamn expensive there. So essentially, gas is so expensive in Europe, especially in countries like Scandinavia, from what I've heard, and essentially there's really no teenagers driving. You have to be at least 18 to drive, and even then, most people take public transportation because Europe is a lot more farther ahead in public transportation. Not getting into politics, that kind of fucking bullshit too. So, I mean, I guess you could say that's part of the reason why Europe probably has lower drunk driving deaths, or I would assume they do, is because they have more public transportation, and you don't have like a lot of like 16, 17-year-olds with cars. Actually, you don't have really any with cars, and that's why there's such a lower rate. And also, it's more cultural. So, kids grow up, at 10 or 11, 12 years old with having like a small glass of wine for dinner. It's more cultural. It's less taboo in those countries. So I mean, I guess you could kind of argue with that like that. It's less abused in those countries, though I'm sure there is still rates of alcoholism in those countries, like Ireland, for example. Like I'm Irish myself. But I mean, tobacco. I mean, really, there's really only two problems with tobacco. I mean, maybe three problems. There's only a couple problems. One is obviously the damage you're doing to yourself, which obviously can equate to cancer, heart disease, emphysema, COPD, etc., etc. There's also the secondhand smoke aspect, which is obviously, you're releasing smoke into the atmosphere, which obviously can affect other people. And obviously, there's also the fire aspect, which obviously, you could potentially, if you were irresponsible, you could start a fire. People flicking butts everywhere with cigarette butts. And then people try to, talk you into the whole third-hand smoke aspect, which is the odor of smoke, which I don't really get that as much. But I mean, obviously, secondhand smoke is dangerous, but just smelling smoke on somebody's clothes, yeah, that's a little bit far-fetched. But anyway, that's about it for tobacco. Aside from the health effects like cancer, heart disease, emphysema, and the secondhand smoke aspect, people being around, which can be eliminated by smoking away from people. That can be eliminated by smoking away from people. Like I'm not smoking in the house, obviously. I don't smoke in the damn house. There aren't a whole lot other side effects of tobacco. It does not impair your ability to safely operate a motor vehicle unless you smoke like 20 cigars. Unless you smoke like 20 cigars, it's not impairing your ability to safely operate a motor vehicle. And also, it does increase like paranoia, so you're not going to have some stupid idiotic teenager getting paranoid on tobacco and then taking his own life, committing suicide. And it doesn't necessarily make people violent. I mean, people can get a little bit irritable when they don't have a smoke. People can get antsy, they can get nicotine withdrawals. It is addictive, fucking addictive. It clearly is fucking addictive, but it doesn't cause like anger like alcohol, where people get really violent and aggressive and might like, for example, like God forbid, like murder somebody, or for example, like sexually assault somebody. So so there aren't a whole lot of side effects aside from the obvious ones like cancer and heart disease and emphysema and secondhand smoke, and also the fire aspect. Which is obviously people being irresponsible with their cigarette butts. Flicking butts into bushes. Flicking butts into the ocean, causing a mess, causing pollution. And to play devil's advocate to that, cigar butts and pipe tobacco ash is biodegradable. So it's only cigarettes, fucking cigarettes that are not biodegradable. So if I was to put this cigar butt on the ground, it would biodegrade itself, because it is biodegradable. It's only the stupid goddamn cigarettes that are not biodegradable because of the stupid filter in paper. So. And also, I guess, like the Black and Milds and like the Swisher Sweets, which are really not even cigars, they're cigarellos. But I'm getting off topic here. So back to what I was saying about, I can kind of understand with alcohol, how alcohol is a 21 plus thing, because there's more inherent dangers, also more immediate dangers. Excuse me. I burped him a fucking hog. So I guess it's more inherent immediate dangers. Like obviously, if somebody has a few cigarettes at a bar, they're not going to go out and get hammered and cause a drunk driving accident and kill somebody. But it's like with tobacco, I don't get why that shit's 21 plus now. I don't get why that shit's 21 plus. I mean, I guess you're trying. I get you're trying to save lives. I mean, I get you're trying to save lives, but I mean, I heard a statistic that, they refer to, 18 to 29-year-olds or something like that, like 18 to 25-year-olds as young people. They're not young people. I mean, those are adults. I mean, a 25-year-old person can rent a car in New York City. Since when is a 25-year-old person a underage minor? Since never. I mean, a lot of people get married when they're 25 or have their first kid when they're 25. I mean, I've known people who've had their first kid when they were 25 or younger. I mean, since when is a 25-year-old a youth, a quote unquote youth? So yeah, that's where I get a little bit like pissy about the whole FDA like CDC thing. I get you're trying to save lives, and believe me, I would not encourage anybody to go out and start smoking. I mean, if you're not a smoker, please, please, please don't start. I mean, please, please, please don't start, because it is a very bad addiction, and no matter how you justify it, even though the big ass cigars for life are wonderful things, to myself, I mean, I still have moderate health effects from smoking. I wake up every day and I cough. I mean, it's like, so, and you're going to cough regardless. I mean, you're going to develop some degree of COPD regardless. So I would not encourage anybody to go out and start smoking. I mean, it's a decision you have to make at 21 years old or whatever the legal age in your jurisdiction is. But I mean, I don't get why tobacco is is now 21 plus, because for a long, long time it was 18. And I don't get that. It's like, that's a little bit like, I get you're trying to save lives. It's like, I get you're trying to save lives. But if an 18-year-old can legally purchase a gun, can legally vote, can legally be tried as an adult, and yet they can legally go to war and die for their country, why can't they have a cigarette or a cigar or a pipe? Yeah. That's where I'm like, I don't get that shit. It's like, it's bullshit, it's bullshit. I mean, bullshit can be bullshit, we all know the bullshit can be bullshit, but I mean, that's a little bit like, yeah, you're trying to save lives, but at a certain point you have to take off the Band-Aid. You have to take off the Band-Aid and you have to kind of let people do their own thing, It's like, you can enforce laws. You can say, okay, no smoking in public places, no smoking in apartments. You can say no smoking in, restaurants, bars. You can even say no smoking in tobacco shops, or cigar bars. But I mean, at a certain point, if somebody wants to, in the privacy of their own, private house or, private property, have a cigar, yeah, it's like, that's where you're getting, I'm not getting into politics and kind of fucking bullshit, but then you're getting to like authoritarianism. It's like, because that's where and I mean, it's the same argument for like fast food, which I don't want to get into too big of a debate about this because I don't have much of a cigar left. I only have about half left. But I mean, it's the same argument about like fast food, like when Mayor Bloomberg all those years ago, like made it so you can order extra large, soda in like New York City. It's like, yeah. So it's kind of like what you would call authoritarianism. It's like, so yeah. I mean, the same argument goes with like fast food. I mean, you could say, oh, fast food is terrible for you. It's terrible for you. It causes heart disease, diabetes, cancer, cardiovascular disease, strokes, heart attacks. Yeah, it may not produce a nasty smell, a nasty cigarette-y smell, that gets on your clothes and, it gets in people's faces, but it's just as bad for you. It's like, if you eat 20 cheeseburgers a day, you're clearly going to develop obesity and high blood pressure and diabetes and high cholesterol. I mean, I don't want to get into too big of a debate about it, but I mean, I kind of have a problem where, whew, smoky in the garage. Yeah, get that smoke out of the garage. That's why I keep the door open. Is get that shit out of the garage. As in bullshit is bullshit, you know. I kind of have a problem where, you know, I'm not somebody like one of those people like those libertarians who are like, I'm not getting into like politics, that kind of bullshit, but I'm not like one of those like crazy like libertarians who thinks like the government shouldn't do whatever. But I think there's a certain line. It's like, you know, okay, you want to tell people you can't own an assault rifle. That sounds reasonable in my mind. But if you're telling somebody they can't have a extra large Coca-Cola soda or Dr. Pepper soda, not Dr. Pepper, Dr. Pepper, that's a little bit like, yeah. That's where you get into the whole like nanny state idea, you know, the whole like nanny state idea where the government decides what is good for you and what is not good for you. I mean, I can understand like anybody under 18 shouldn't be doing that shit. Like nobody under 18 should be doing that shit. But if you're Orbiter, sorry. If you're, you know, 18 or 21, I mean, since when is a 23 or 25-year-old considered a youth? I don't get that shit. I mean, I heard that statistic a long time ago. I mean, since when is like a 25 or 27-year-old considered a youth? I mean, I don't get that. If somebody who's 25 or 27 wants to have as many hamburgers as they want, or somebody who's 25 or 27 or 29 wants to have a fucking cigar, yeah, I don't get that. That's where you get into like the whole authoritarianism. Like, I'm all for, you know, keeping people safe. And to be fair, like, you know, alcohol, you know, fucking alcohol, yeah, I can kind of, like I said, I can kind of understand that because there's a lot more inherent risk involved. There's a lot more inherent risk. It's like, you know, I can kind of understand that shit because it's like in a split second, you could change somebody's life and destroy somebody's life in a drunk driving accident. That I can understand. That shit I can understand. But if you're telling me I can't stand in my parents' garage with my parents' permission and smoke a fucking cigar, yeah, that's where I have a problem with that. Or if you're telling me I can't, I also heard this was a long time ago, 10 years ago probably, they didn't want people to be allowed to use salt, table salt in a restaurant. Like, how the fuck is that constitutional? Like, you're not allowed to use table salt. You have to taste your food first before putting table salt on your, you know, like iodine salt, you know, on your food because there's a concern of the high blood pressure. I mean, come on. It's like, you know, that's where you get really into, like, you know, the whole, like, nanny state and, like, you know, authoritarian government. I'm not getting into politics, that kind of fucking bullshit, you know, but I mean, that's where you get really into, like, an authoritarian government. It's like, you know, because you're telling me I can't have a shaker of salt, table salt. And I understand there's a huge focus nowadays on successful aging. You know, there's everyone wants to achieve successful aging. It's not like 50 or 100 years ago where a good life was considered, you know, 60 or 70 years old, you know, or 50 years old even. You know, I get that everyone's afraid of death, you know, everyone's afraid of illness and death, and everyone wants to live a long, long life and wants to live into their 80s and their 90s, even beyond. And believe me, I certainly want to. But if you're telling me I have to taste my hamburger, my french fries, before putting a dash of salt on my french fries, I mean, come on, how the fuck is that constitutional? I mean, how the fuck is that constitutional? I mean, I don't get that shit. It's like, you know, I mean, you're telling me I can't even put a pinch of salt on my, I don't know, my mashed potatoes, before I taste them because there's a concern it could raise my blood pressure or damage my kidneys. I mean, I get that shit with kids. I mean, with kids, yeah, you should be protecting kids because kids don't know better. But with somebody who's in their 20s or 30s. I mean, imagine saying that to a 70-year-old guy. I mean, you probably get your ass kicked. It's like, I'm not literally, but I mean, there's a lot of busybodies, a lot of like, troublemakers, a lot of people who are very, very rude. It's like, I mean, it's like, how the hell is that constitutional? So it's like the same thing as a soda argument, you have to order 2 medium sodas as opposed to 1 extra large soda because there's a concern all that sugar, all that syrup could lead to, obesity, diabetes, liver damage, etc., etc. I mean, I understand with, protecting children, protect the children, I understand that. It's like, all that shit should be directed towards children. But when you're talking about somebody who's 18 plus, 21 plus, who's adult, I think they should be allowed to make their own decision. So long as they're not harming anybody else, so long as they're not expecting anybody to catch them when they fall, and so long as they part of the argument behind it is, well, what if the person doesn't have good health insurance, which a lot of people in a lot of states don't have good health insurance, and then we end up paying for the crap in tax dollars. Yes, I can kind of understand that. That's kind of where they get the justification behind it. Say somebody, drinks, 6 or 7 sodas a day and ends up with diabetes in their 40s, and then they have to be on medication and insulin for the rest of their life, and they don't have good health insurance, and then we end up paying for the shit in tax dollars, that's where they get the justification behind it. I guess I'm biased because I've always had great health insurance, and I'm very thankful, knock on wood, they have always had very good health insurance, so I've never had to worry about that. So, I mean, I don't pay anything for my medication. It's like, so, when my doctor says, Evan, we have a little bit of bad news, we have to put you on a new medication, I'm not worried about that because it's not like I'm going to be paying an extra $10 for medication. So, I guess I'm biased because I've always had great health insurance. Because I've always had wonderful health insurance, I've never had to worry about paying for medication or paying for appointments or paying for surgeries or paying for operations or paying for medical procedures. So it's like, but I've heard in other states, that's not the case, and essentially these people end up paying, significant amounts of money for their procedures. Anyway, cigars getting mushy, so that's a long ramble. I personally think the legal age for tobacco should be 18 years old. That's my personal opinion, like my asshole. Anyway, have a nice day. Bye-bye.